Okay, we're looking at MPLX, the Master Limited Partnership for Marathon Petroleum Corporation. From the high at 85.57, you can draw a trend line connecting the first major lower high here, and it extends down. You can see it offers pretty good resistance all the way down. So this trend line is useful. It shows currently during the month of October, 1808 is your resistance. But here's something different. If you look at the 1 by 1, which is a scale of 1 point down for every 1 month over in a time, that's what we're using as the scale. We get substantially the same result, only maybe the resistance is slightly lower at 1657 because the high was 85.57, and we're moving 1 point down every month we move forward in time. So it gives you something else to analyze this particular stock. It's telling you if it closed above 1657, we're above that now. That's positive. But, you know, we've been slightly above it before and then we fell back. So maybe it's useful to look at both the trend line at 1808 and the 1 by 1 line at 1657. If you get above both of them, maybe you'd take off. But there's also an advantage to using Gann, the 1 by 1, because we can now look at the square of the high. Using the same scale, 1 point per 1 month, we see 1657 is resistance. We also see a spatial geometric relationship between time and price. You can see we sold off on the 2 by 1. It offered resistance. 2 by 1 meaning this thing declines, this particular line declines 2 points per month instead of 1 point per month. We sold off, found support on this 1 by 1, rallied back to the 50% retracement, which is just half the high, and then we sold off to another 2 by 1, rallied back, traded sideways, and then we traded size all the way into the 50% retracement in time. What exactly is the 50% retracement in time? Well, if you take 85.57 and draw this line all the way down to 0, that is the square of the high. So half of that distance in time would be right here in, it looks like August of 2018. That was a high. So you can see there's an obvious relationship between time and price. We formed a high halfway through the square in time, and then we continued down along the 1 by 1, found support on a 1 by 2 line, rallied back, found resistance 3/4 of the way down in price on the square. So time and price were 3/4 through the square in time, we're 3/4 down from the high in price. So time and price came together here. This could have been a breakout. If this were a stronger stock, it would have taken out this level and gone up from here instead of continuing down. The fact that it didn't do it and it stayed below the 1 by 1 down from high is evidence of the weakness, that it's not quite ready to go yet. And of course, you know from right here, the fact that it topped halfway through the square, that tells you that it is definitely vibrating to the square of the high. So this is a particular chart that we want to pay close attention to going forward. If we break out above this 1 by 1, maybe we'll go back here to around 21, looks like 21.65. We go back there, that's where you really want it to get above that to show that, hey, it's breaking out for real. It's going to go higher probably into March 2022, which is the completion of the square in time. That would really be cool. But we're not there yet. So let's see, what else can we do to analyze this stock? We can look at this particular chart, which is the high-low degree angles. What exactly is that? Well, if we take this high and this low, the range is 69.23. Now, if we extend that in time, 69 it's actually, it's not showing it here, but you can see the line is slightly beyond. This is 69 months down from high, 69.23. All we're doing is equating time and price. We're saying that the range from the high to the low was 69.23. And then we're moving over 69.23 months in time to give us this vertical line. So that's October of 2020, which is, yeah, right now. So in theory, there should be a breakout. I think it's probably closer. It doesn't actually tell us. 69.23, this would be 69 months, 0.23. I think it'd be early November. Because 0.23 is pushing into November. That's why this line is slightly beyond the point here. 69 months is here, 0.23 is into early November. Now, what's going on in early November? Well, it's interesting. MPLX to announce 2020 third quarter financial results on November 2nd. Wow, that's pretty cool. So what it's telling us is that this particular cycle is matching up with quarterly results to be announced on November 2nd. I think this is kind of magic. It doesn't tell you the stock will go up. It tells you that you should keep an eye on it in early November because there's potential for it to break out and start a big move up, or alternatively, it could be bad results and it could continue down. Also note from here, from this point here, February 2016 to August of 2018 is 30 months. And then from August of 2018 to February 2021 is 60 months. So that's kind of interesting because if it doesn't break out here in November, maybe it continues down into February before it breaks out. So one or the other. I think that's the interesting thing here. Gann doesn't prove to us whether it's going to go higher. It just tells you that you should pay attention in early November. It confirms what may be obvious to a lot of people that, hey, this quarterly, third quarter financial results on November 2nd is going to be a big deal. So, one way or the other, you're going to get a market moving event on November 2nd. And if it's bad, it'll go down into February. If it's good, maybe it'll start to move up here in November. I think this is kind of interesting because the high-low degree angles are matching up with the fundamentals telling you that something's going to happen in November. All you have to do from here is keep an eye on it and pay close attention to what happens. You may have a buying opportunity. Let's say it gets above that trend line at 1808. Actually, by the time you get into November, it's going to be down here. Looks like around 17 or 17 and a little bit higher. A little above 17. If it gets a little above 17 and on the 1-by-1 line, based on, the scale that we chose, 1 point per month, this line here drops to 1557. It's not going to take, unless it really sells off here, it's probably going to break out. So that's a particular insight you get from Gann, that, hey, this thing is testing the line here now. It's slightly above it, and by November, it'll be well above it. So November 2nd, unless the news is pretty bad and it dives on the news, and it's going to be above this line. So either way, though, we have to keep an open mind for the moment. We know that one way or the other, this stock is going to have a big move on November 2nd. So, if you see it start to rally sharply on November 2nd after they announce the news, maybe you jump on board. If you see that it's starting to sell off and it's below 1557, it's plunging, well, okay, then maybe you wait until, let's see here, until February. So either way, you have instructive information from the Gann charts telling you whether to buy or to hold off and say, hey, I don't think it's time to buy the stock yet. One way or the other, you'll have active information based on what it does on November 2nd. And the fact that the relationship on the high-low degree angles, remember 69.23 was the range in price. It's telling you there's an obvious relationship between time and price. If you can move down 69.23 months in time and you get the quarterly results at pretty much the same time, wow, that's pretty impressive. You know, I think this is the interesting thing. A lot of people want to ignore time. They want to tell you that, oh, I'll just look at the trend lines. Well, yeah, you can do that. You can say, oh, all right, I'll look at the trend line. That'll tell me everything I need to know. Well, maybe not. Maybe what you need to do is also have an awareness that in early November, something big is going to happen. This is really, really interesting. I like this stock. I'm not interested in buying it. I just want to follow it. I want to see if it breaks out in sync with this cycle, 69.23 months, down from high. It's going to be interesting either way. So keep an eye on this. I think this is a good test case for Gann, and the high-low degree chart is telling us something useful.